에디스 핀치.
A lot of this isn't going to make sense to you, and I'm sorry about that.
야, 자막 설정이 없다?
I'm just gonna start at the beginning with the house.
아, 그냥 이건가? 아, 지금 저게 그냥 책에 적힌 걸 읽은 거네.
I lived here until I was 11, but I wasn't allowed inside half the rooms.
집에 있는 방들 중에서 절반은 들어가지 못했대요. 와, 개 부잣집이다. 아, RB가 상호작용이야, RB.
Inside the mailbox were bills from 7 years ago, marked urgent, open immediately.
아, 주인공이 오랜만에 집에 왔나봐.
I hadn't been back since my brother Louis's funeral.
루이스 오빠의 장례식 후. 집이 대충 망했나 보지?
In her will, my mother left me a key, but didn't tell me what it unlocked.
열쇠가 뭘 여는지
Maybe she
알려주자.
thought I'd know. Or she thought that the mystery would be enough to bring me back.
어머니의 유서.
The truth is, even after I inherited the house, I never thought I'd come back to it.
상속자야.
But now I had questions about my family that only the house knew the answers to. The woods around the house have always been uncomfortably silent. As if they're about to say something but never do.
얘가 몇 살 정도 되는 거지?
The house was exactly like I remembered it, the way I'd been dreaming about it.
와,
As a
집이
child,
개
the
커.
house made me uncomfortable in a way I couldn't put into words. Now, as a 17-year-old, I knew exactly what those words were. I was afraid of the house.
뭐야, 10년 전에, 아니 7년 전에 집을 떠났다고 했는데 그럼 10살 때 집을 떠나가지고 17살 때 처음 온 거야? 아니 얘가 뭐라면 본가를 10살 때 떠나?
I hoped the key might unlock the front door. It didn't. Looking in, I felt like the house itself had been waiting for me.
그럼 얘는 지금 17살에 천혜고아가 된 거야? 근데 이거 스토리 겁나 암울할 것 같아요. 어디로 가야 하오? 뒤쪽인가? 이 뒤쪽인 것 같지? 오케이. 이 파란색 아까 걘 줄 알았어. 깜짝아. 순간 게임을 뛰어넘어서 출연한 줄 알았잖아.
The power had been turned off the night we left. For the first time in years.
그건가 보다. 주인공의 기억 찾기 같은.
The table was still a wreck from the night we left.
우리가 떠났을 때처럼?
My mom was the only one of us who could imagine Great-Grandma Edie living in a nursing home. It was like a bomb had gone off, killing everyone but sparing the furniture. Nothing in the house looked abnormal. There was just too much of it, like a smile with too many teeth. Even the fireplace had a story. Edie told me the bricks came from the original house, after it sank. Great-Grandpa Sven built a music box for Barbara, along with the rest of the house.
바바라가 누군데?
Mom always told me to stay out of the basement, so I wasn't too surprised when the key didn't fit.
지하실 열쇠도 아니에요. 엄마가 준 열쇠. 이거 지금 양초 같은 걸로 문을 다 막아놓은 거야?
My mom wasn't much of an optimist, but She never stopped believing that my brother Milton was alive.
아니 밀턴 오빠는 또 누군데? 아니 난 대가족이 싫어.
After Milton disappeared, Mom sealed up all the bedrooms. Then
모든
Edie
침실을
retaliated and drilled peepholes.
밀랍으로 막은 거네. 에디가 증조 할머니요. 버릇이 좀 없죠.
Whenever people ask me about my family, the first thing they always want to know about is Barbara.
사람들이 나에게 가족에 대해서 물어볼 때 가장 알고 싶은 게 바바라라고?
Mom must have locked the third floor stairs on the night we left.
여기도 일단 집 못 여는 것 같고.
Edie's father Odin built the original house.
증조 할아버지가 이 집을 지었대요. 아니 잠깐만. 증조 할머니가 에디였나? 고조 할아버지?
I spent a lot of time playing in Great Uncle Walter's room.
월터.
I think my mom sometimes regretted not sealing it up.
그냥 깔끔하게 엄마 아빠
Louis told me
오빠.
there were secret passages, but I never believed him.
어? 이거야.
Turns out, my mom was really good at keeping secrets.
야 뭐야 이거?
Now it was time to find out what my mom had been afraid of. Reading this, maybe it sounds like I had a plan, but I had no idea what was behind that door.
이 주인공
It's
방인가?
like I had no idea where all this was gonna lead.
모든 것이 어떻게 될지도 전혀 몰랐다.
I grew up looking at Molly's room through the peephole.
몰리의 방안을 보며 자랐다. 몰린 또
Being
누군데
inside for
임마?
the first time, I felt like I'd stepped behind a painting.
주인공이 들어갔다 온 적은 있는 방인가 보네.
I got the sense Edie had spent a lot of time here before my mom sealed the doors.
엄마가 문을 잠그기 전에 할머니가 여기 잘 지냈다고?
Molly's gerbil had a tiny bedroom with its own even tinier gerbil cage.
몰리가 또 다른 딸이려나? 그러니까 할머니의 또 다른 딸?
December 13th, 1947. Dear Diary, I'll be gone
1947년.
soon, but I wanted to tell somebody about what's gonna happen. It started when Mom sent me to bed without dinner. I woke up and I was starving, so I looked around for something to eat. The gerbil food was dry, but I didn't mind it.
지금 배가 고프다고 이걸 먹었다고?
My Halloween candy was all gone.
학대당하고 있나?
Mom, can I come out now?
Sweetheart, it's late. Go to sleep.
뭔가 좀 지금 정상이 아닌 것 같지?
I ate a lot of things that night.
잠시간에 배가 고파서 그냥
Then I heard chirping outside my window.
당근 같은 걸
It was
먹었다.
a barn swallow going back to her nest.
얘도 먹나?
I reached out for her. And suddenly,
뭐야?
I was a cat.
어?
I tried to be quiet, but the bird was really scared.
내가 고양이가 됐어요.
Mom
어우,
and
점프력
Dad
높다.
didn't even look at me.
엄마 아빠는 나를 보지도 않았다.
I jumped
몰리의
very
우당탕탕
fast.
변신 대소동.
could tell she was getting really tired. Now I was up in the big tree. I promised Dad I wouldn't climb it anymore. All I cared about was eating that mama bird. I gobbled her up. And suddenly, I was an owl. First, all I heard was the wind. Then I heard little teeth nibbling in the grass.
뭐지 이게? 좀 당황스러운데? 새를 먹었고 올빼미를 빼냈어요. 그러니까 어린 나이에 지금 무슨 약을 빨았지?
Rabbits.
완전 생물 카드 디귿트.
좋아, 토끼를 먹었어.
I imagined his face looking up and seeing mine through my talons. I swallowed him up, and I didn't chew one bit. Then I flew off to find something bigger.
야, 이게 헌팅 게임이었구나. 약간
A
정신에
mama rabbit.
좋아, 엄마 토끼도 잡았다.
She was almost too big to carry. I started choking, but I couldn't stop eating. And suddenly, I was a shark.
난 지금 얘 뭐야 이거? 아, 그 자리에서 바로 상어가 됐어요. 얘 상어 죽어요. 야, 물속에서도 헤엄치지 않으면 익사하는데. 나 살려줘요. 변신할 위치가 잘못됐어.
I rolled off a cliff and into the ocean.
됐다.
Now, I was hungrier than ever. I wanted fat, juicy seals.
아, 이거 판정 좀 빡빡하다. 이거 얼굴 쪽에 부딪혀도
And it tasted
정면 바로 부딪히는 거 아니면은 안 먹어지네.
I grabbed on
Okay.
tight. But I was so hungry, I jumped out of the water. When I opened my eyes, everything had changed.
지금은 또 뭐냐? 뱀이야? 아, 뭐야 이거?
Now I was a monster, and I smelled.
그냥 괴물이래요.
I was big, but I moved real quiet.
사람도 먹었어.
I wanted to stop, but also I didn't.
술 취한 선원은 어떻게 해야 되냐고? 먹어야지. 술 취한 선원은 먹습니다.
After the last passenger, I was still hungry. And across the water, I smelled something new. Something I had to have, so I swam towards it. I slithered onto the sand, and the good smell went into an old pipe. I got closer and closer.
뭘 암시하는 건지 모르겠다. 근데 화면이 좀 너무 어두운 것 같은데? 여기 몰리방이네?
All my stomach started growling,
내 위장들. 손가?
and suddenly I was me again. I held my breath for a long time, but I couldn't hear anything. I think it's waiting for me to fall asleep, but it's not going to wait much longer. It needs to be, and we both know I will be delicious.
몽유병 같은 게 있어서
I'm not
문을
sure if I
잠가
believe
놓는 거
all that,
같은
but
거
I'm sure
같기는
Edie would
한데
have.
에디가 증조 할머니가 맞네요. 오딘이 보조 할아버지, 몰리가 에디의 딸. 자, 일단 조금씩 보면 될 것 같아. 저게 다 가족들이었네.
This will be obvious later, but my mom never told me any of these stories. Edie would have, but Mom didn't like bringing up the past.
실제로는
When we adopted a stray
애가
kitten,
이쪽으로 가서
she was
봤나
the one
보지?
who named it Molly. I spent a lot of time in Great Grandma Edie's room. When Edie told people Sven was killed by a dragon, she could also have said he was building a dragon-shaped slide that collapsed. She could have, but she didn't.
용 모양의 미끄럼틀을 만들다가
Even in her
죽었다.
90s, sometimes Edie seemed a lot younger than my mother. The only trace Grandpa Sam's first wife Kay left on the house was the pink bathroom. It was a pretty big trace.
할머니가 K, 할아버지가 샘.
There's a secret in this bathroom. It's in the last place you would look. It isn't in the cupboard. It's hidden in this book.
와, 집이 미쳤어요. 이래서
Sven gave Sam an old camera he'd refurbished.
반 정도는 못
He
들어갔던
never put it
거네.
down. From the paintings on the wall, it was clear my brother Milton had been here
뭔데,
before
뭔데.
me.
칼빈이 아까 몰리 형제였나?
I knew Grandpa Sam had a twin. And that he never
아,
talked about it.
샘의 쌍둥이.
I guess my grandpa didn't like history any more than my mom did.
How I Want to Remember My Brother by Sam Finch. The thing I remember is that when he made up his mind, that was it. My brother said he'd die before he ate another mushroom, and he did.
다친 발은 왼발인데 너 왜 왼발만 움직이냐 불편하게. 아,
At Barbara's funeral, we swore we'd never be afraid again.
왼쪽은 왼쪽 스틱은 왼발이고
I think
오른쪽 스틱이
Calvin
오른발이에요.
always wanted to fly.
Sam, Calvin, dinner's ready. Coming.
But that day, he finally made up his mind to do it. I told him going around was impossible.
오, 야, 이거 완전
Maybe if I
회전한다
hadn't
이걸?
said that,
이러다 죽나 보다.
Calvin, I'm not gonna tell you again.
maybe if the wind hadn't picked up, then maybe he'd still be here. But I doubt it. I think he'd already made up his mind. That's what I want to remember about my brother. The day he made up his mind to fly, and he did.
Calvin's story felt strangely familiar. When I was
11살,
younger, I remember
12살
trying
때
to do the
죽었네.
exact same thing. After the funeral, Edie roped off Calvin's half of the room.
그러니까 진짜 굿 한번 해야 될 것 같아요 이거.
Mom said Grandpa Sam enlisted at 18 and never set foot in the room again.
오 근데 이거 좋다. 자막을 이런 식으로 만들고 이게 갈 길을 딱 알려주네. 와, 이 미친 집.
The passages were a pretty tight fit. They'd obviously been built for smaller hands and bellies.
이
Growing
집을
up,
지은
I always
고조
thought of Barbara as a
할아버지는
child star.
애들이 이렇게 밝게 뛰어놀면서 지내라고 만든 거겠지?
I never thought about how hard it must have been for her afterwards.
짜잔, 다 죽었네요.
Of all the stories people wrote about Barbara's death, I'm surprised Edie saved this one.
바바라 핀치의
Old Jack here with another ghastly tale inspired by America's most unfortunate family. I'm calling it The Surprise Ending of
너 뭐하다 죽었냐?
Finch. As a child star, Barbara was famous for her scream. Now at 16, she was all washed up, a has-been. But in a lucky break, she'd been asked to perform her signature scream at a local convention for monster movie fans. It was just the boost her career needed. Unfortunately, her scream hadn't aged well.
Getting better. I think you just need the right motivation.
설마 이래서 비명소리 더 잘 지르려고 뭐 하다가 죽었나 보지?
Boyfriend, Rick, was about to demonstrate when...
Now that was a great scream.
It was Barbara's father, Sven. He'd slipped into a table saw and had to be rushed to the emergency room. So Barbara got stuck babysitting her youngest brother, Walter. Her convention comeback was cancelled.
Okay, I'm hearing frustration, but I'm not hearing terror. What if I tried...
A gang of hoodlums in Halloween masks have been terrorizing Orcas Island tonight. Police are urging residents to...
That came from the basement.
You're right! Also, I loved your delivery on that. Why is your basement door locked?
Because my dad likes making puzzles and secret passages. There's a key hidden in the music box. The secret is to keep winding and winding until finally the key pops out.
Thanks, babe. I'll be back in a sec.
20 minutes later, Rick hadn't returned. So Barbara went to look for him, right on cue. She reached for the music box. And as she wound the key, she listened for Rick, but the house was silent.
지금 이 상태에서 조종이 가능해요.
She found Rick's crutch and imagined the worst.
The gang's leader is the infamous Hookman killer, Dr. Carl Hamill, who impaled and then ate his family 10 years ago tonight.
공포 아닙니까 이거?
The old fridge rattled,
relax. I was just trying to scare you to
아, 이
help you
자식이
find your
미쳤나
scream.
지금.
Well, I'm not scared, Rick. I'm furious.
Then act furious. All I'm getting from you now is that you're hurt and confused and you...
She threw him out, but she kept a little something to remember him by.
Barb, have you seen my other crutch?
And she was still holding it when she fell asleep watching the late picture show. Hours later...
Barbara! Walter, what's going on up there? Ah! Okay, I'm coming up, but if this is a trick, you're dead, Walter.
찐남매.
Walter, are you there?
Walter had vanished, but his bedside radio was still on.
Orcas Island police described the man as 6 feet tall, with a steel hook for a hand. Residents are urged to lock all doors and windows and notify the police of any suspicious activity.
Barbara turned, saw the hook man, and was speechless. He was quite smashing. And he was. He couldn't get enough of Barbara.
Okay, Barbara, there's gotta be another way out of here.
That night, she played her part beautifully.
아니, 야, 이 가족 진짜 왜 이렇게 운이 없어?
She thought about abandoning Walter, but just couldn't do it. Molly's door hadn't been opened in years. The hinges groaned. He wasn't moving, but she sensed the story might not be over yet.
야, 이야기 끝내줘. 어, 뭐야?
Had vanished. She listened for his breathing, but all she heard was...
이래서 낙공을 배워놨어야 됐는데.
At the door, she heard whispering. It was coming from inside the house.
Oh dear.
The monsters had come to surprise her. For Barbara, it was a dream come true. Then she saw what kind of monsters they were, and she realized what was about to happen. She was going to be famous. And with her final breath, Barbara Finch gave the performance of her life.
아, 죽으면서.
I wasn't there myself, but I hear Barbara was magnificent. Poor girl. She had a taste for stardom. But unfortunately, so did her fans. Of course, the police blamed it all on poor Rick, who disappeared the same night. And little Walter? Hiding under his bed the whole time. He took it all pretty hard, but that's another story. As for Barbara, tucked inside the music box is all they ever found of her. Her ear. Now that's what I call a real ear.
실제로는 뒤치기까지는 성공시켰는데 아니, 그것도 성공했는지는 모르겠지만 잡아먹힌 거네.
Edie told me all Barbara wanted was to be remembered, as absurd as that comic was. Maybe what Edie saw was a happy ending.
그리고 지금 보니까 이 이야기를 책으로 낸 거 같은데? 공포 맞네 근데.
I guess now I know why Mom didn't like me playing with the music box.
좋아할 수가 없지. 자기 이모. 야, 두 번째 애가 죽었을 때쯤 이 집에서 탈출을 했어야 돼. 첫 번째 애야 사고였을 수도 있어. 두 번째 안 돼. 잠깐만, 그럼 몰리는 어떻게 된 거야, 몰리? 배가 고파서 몽유병으로 돌아다니다가 실제로 사람들
Mom
화장실에서
said the
먹은
basement
열매
was off limits,
때문에 죽었나?
unless I wanted another tetanus shot. I saw Edie sneak down to the basement once, carrying packages. I thought maybe she was hiding presents. It turned out she was hiding a lot more than that.
아니, 이 부분은 약간 상상 속에 남겨둔 걸 수도 있겠네요.
I remember asking Mom once about where Walter had gone. She said after Barbara died, he got as far away as he could. If there's a pattern in all these stories, I think it's that none of us has gotten very far.
Goodbye, everyone. I can't believe I've been down here for 30 years. On that first day, after the shaking started, I didn't think I'd survive a week. But after a few days, I settled into a routine. That's what kept me sane. Having a schedule, living for today. I always expected to be dead tomorrow. But if you wait long enough, you get used to anything. Even a monster on the other side of the door starts to feel normal. Almost friendly. And then one day, everything just stopped. Whatever that thing was, it was gone. Maybe it got tired of waiting. Or maybe I just got tired of being afraid. It's been a week now, the longest in 30 years. I'm done waiting. I have to leave while I still can. I know it's out there somewhere. Whatever killed Barbara
바바라를 죽인 그거.
and Molly and Calvin. Maybe this is all a mistake. But I need to stop living the same day, even if it kills me. Whatever's out there, I want you to know I'm ready for it. I'm going to appreciate all of it, especially the food. I don't mind if I only have a year left, or a month, or a single week. I'd be happy with one more day. I can already imagine the sun on my face.
Walter died when I was 6. I can't believe my mom never told me he was down here.
죽고 싶지 않아서 이 저택 지하 쪽에서 숨어 살다가 같은 것을 계속 반복해서 생각한다는 건 자기 형제들 죽음이겠지? 그랬다가 그걸 멈추면 결국 죽음밖에 없나?
I'm sure my mom was trying to protect me.
엄마 이거 왜 불렀어요 저?
Maybe she was afraid I'd end up like Walter. But if she never told me about an uncle under the house, I can only imagine what else she was hiding. I don't want to make the same mistakes she made, trying to bury something that's still alive. Now that there's only one of us left, or maybe 2,
한 명 아니 어쩌면 2명이
I thought
나왔다.
it was time I heard the stories for myself. And
그
found out what
오빠
happened to everyone
실종됐지.
else.
예.
But
작은
now I'm
오빠가
worried the stories
실종됐지.
themselves might be the problem. Maybe we believed so much in a family curse, we made it real. I don't know if I should even be writing this. Maybe it'd be better if all this just died with me. But I thought you should know about your family and the history you're a part of. Though to be honest, I feel as lost as you probably do right now. I think the people in these stories believed them, for what that's worth.
지금 엄마의 이야기를 내 시점에서 듣는 건가? 엄마가 이야기해주는 걸 듣고 있다는 설정인가? 아니면 지금 이것도 자기 딸이라든가 그런 애들한테 전하고 있는 건가?
That history of imagination and stubbornness and madness, any of it seems possible. I think we've been surrounded by death for so long, we've just gotten used to it. What kind of family finishes building a cemetery before starting the house?
이거 웃어야 되는 내용 맞지?
It's embarrassing for me to admit this, but the pet cemetery may be more uncomfortable than the human one. 3 of the gerbils are mine, and 2 had been my fault. Sven built the house, but it was Edie who designed the cemetery.
월터, 바바라, 에디, 스벤. 야 이거 근데 야 이거 고인보도가 아니냐? 그네 타다가 바람 불어가지고 절벽에서 떨어져서 죽은 애한테
I'm sure Odin's monument had been Edie's idea. My mom was always trying to move on, but for Edie, the past never went away.
하긴 엄마는 잘 모르겠지만 에디는
She could see it poking out of the water at low tide. Edie said she dreamed about the old house every night.
다시 거꾸로
Edie's side was always easier for me to understand. But the older I get, the more I can see where my mom was coming from.
나이가 들수록 이해하기 쉬웠다라고 하기엔 너 지금 17살인데.
There's so many things I wish I could ask my mom now. Part of me thinks this is what she wanted all along. For me to come back someday and find everything out for myself. But looking back on it now, if she told me there was going to be so much climbing, I never would have come when I was 22 weeks pregnant.
지금 얘 임신 중이라고?
I never met Grandpa Sam, but I think he and my mom had a lot in common. They were both pretty intense. Instead of hiding from death, Sam seemed to go out of his way to meet it.
샘은 죽음을 찾아놨대요. 요거구나.
Dawn, I promise, you'll never forget this weekend.
Yes, sir.
These memories are gonna last a lifetime.
Am I gonna have to shoot anything?
It's a hunting trip, Dawn. Shooting is strongly encouraged.
What?
Perfect.
It's gonna rain the whole weekend, isn't it? Please just take the damn picture.
Hey, language.
일단 이번엔 또 사진을 찍어야 돼요. 사진.
Did you want to get a picture of me or what?
네 사진 찍는 거라고? 너 어디 있냐?
I will never forget this weekend, Dad.
That's the spirit. Okay, got it.
I'm gonna take some pictures, okay?
갑자기
Just be
아빠가
careful.
존댓말 썼어.
The camera's older than you are.
You're right, Dad. It's starting to clear up. Still freezing, though.
이렇게 막 찍다 오면 뭐 찍어야 되는지 알려주지 않을까? 여기가 제일 수상해 보이는데 여긴 또 아니란 말이지? 아 여기 있어! 야이!
Aw.
어디로 갔지 이거? 저 새를 따라가면서 찍는 건 거 같거든요? 놓쳤어! 따라 say something. 새 어디로 갔는지 좀 말해주지 않을래?
Definitely should not have drunk all that coffee. Hey!
That's a keeper. Hold still while I take a picture of you.
I'm just
이거였어.
saying, I'm not always gonna be here, Dawn. You'll need to remember this stuff if you want to survive.
I'll be fine, Dad.
You know who else thought he was gonna be fine?
Some guy who died.
Dawn, I'm being serious.
I know, Dad. You're always serious. Doesn't being out here make you want to chill out?
Well, to tell you the truth, I haven't been out here in 20 years.
지금 얘네가 누구 얘기였더라? 돈.
Last time I was with my brother Calvin. Man, that was a
Sam?
great trip.
쌤.
Your grandpa Sven taught us how to fish, how to build a fire. We found an old logging trail. There were deer everywhere. Dawn, don't you think you could find something more interesting to photograph?
인터레스팅한 거?
I bet if I could remember where that trail was, we'd spot a buck for you in no time. Give me a minute to check the map.
Dad!
오!
Good eyes, Dawn. Before you take the shot, let me get a picture of it.
Dad.
Let me get behind you.
Do I have to do this?
Dawn, you don't have to do anything. But if you want to survive... Great shot, Dawn!
맞췄다!
I'm proud of you, Dawn. Always remember that, okay?
타이머 기능.
Dad, it's twitching. I think
That's
it's
totally normal, Don. Just focus on the camera. Try not to think about
Dad!
무슨 초보자가 이걸 사냥을 하겠다고.
Of all these stories, that's the one I wish most that my mom had told me.
진짜 개죽음이다. 잘난 척 겁나 했으면서 20년간 온 게 아니라 20년 만에 온 거 아니었어요? 잠깐만, 근데 30몇 살이었는데 20년 전에 왔으면 사실상 제대로 온 적이 없다는 거 아니야. 무슨 자신감이지?
After Sam died, my mom and Edie got really close. They'd both lost a lot.
한쪽은 아빠를 잃었고 한쪽은 아들을 잃었고. 얘는 또 애 때 죽었어?
Dear Kay, do you remember the way Gregory used to laugh when he thought he was alone? Like something funny was happening, but only he could see it. I think he saw things the rest of us don't.
Gregory, it's time to... Hold on, sweetie. Hello? Sam, I told you I don't want to talk right now.
I wonder what he saw. What his world was like. Reminded me so much of Calvin. Lost in his imagination. Whatever it was he saw.
뭐지?
It sure made him happy.
하다.
I know how silly it sounds. I worry about a baby being too happy. But I could feel him slipping away.
Sorry about that, Gregory.
아니었어.
You did everything you could. Maybe if I hadn't called that night.
아니다.
Hold on, I don't want Gregory to hear.
근데 지금 개구리는 제가 조종 중이에요.
I wish he could have told us about the world he saw.
야, 이거는 그냥 얘 엄마가 죽인 거잖아.
There's so much I don't understand about Gregory, about everything.
아니, 실제로 이렇게 빨리 차오른 건 아니겠죠. 게임적 허용인 거고. 애 엄마가 그만큼 통화를 오래 했겠지. 그러니까 애를 육주에 혼자 두고 나가는 거 자체가 제정신이 아니야. 네 잘못이 아니긴 네 잘못이야.
I'm sure he's happy. And he'd want you to be happy too. Good luck, Kay. Love, Sam.
누가 봐도 네 잘못이야, 케이.
I can't imagine my mom ever writing poetry, and yet
A poem for Gus, who always said the wedding was a bad idea. Our father never hit us kids, at least not very hard, before the day my brother said with teenage disregard that he'd be dead before he'd see a wedding in our yard.
진짜 특이하긴 하다.
My father made him come, of course, but Gus stood far apart, just flew his kite and bottled up the storm inside his heart. I tried to talk him out of it, but though he'd never met her, we don't need a stepmom, were the words that I
now
remember.
pronounce you husband and wife.
연출 같은 게 되게 독특하긴 해요.
When the time for photos came, Dad ordered him to come here. But Gus declined, and as a sign held up his middle finger. The wind picked up, and panicked geese appeared and quickly went. But all the humans did that day was go inside the tent.
얘는 태풍 때문에 죽어?
Rain came down in buckets then, but no one seemed afraid that nature might destroy the tent our dad had crudely made. The thunder sounded much too close and full of angry power. But all my father said to this was, "Make the music louder." I wish that I could truly say I thought about you on that day. Out there on the beach alone, just you, the wind, the sea, and foam. But I didn't. Until we found you.
아니 근데 몇몇 바바라라든가 이런 애들은 정말 그 불행하게 죽었다고 생각되는데
She never talked about him, but Mom told me once if I was a boy, they were going to name me Gus.
뭔가 점점 진행될수록 뒤질만해서 뒤졌다라고 생각되는 애들이 많은 거는 참 애를 욕조에 두고 나서 그대로 나가서 애가 죽질 않나. 사슴 다 죽였다고 절벽 위에서 방심하다가 죽질 않나. 네, 엄마 이름이 돈이요. 아까 전에 그 사진 찍히던 여자애. 걔가 돈. 뭔가 불운이라기보다는 안전불감증에 제대로 걸려가지고 뭐 그래도 보통 사람들이었으면 그렇게 안 되긴 하죠. 와, 임신 22주.
After her brothers died. At the time, it was as far away as she could get. I can't imagine what it was like for her to lose 2 sons after she'd already lost 2 brothers. She spent a summer building houses in Calcutta, where she met my dad, Sanjay.
아,
My mom moved to India a week after graduation and got a job teaching English. Louis was born a year later.
원래 저 아래쪽에서 보고 나서 이쪽으로 올라오는 거였구만.
When my dad died, I don't think Mom knew where else to go. I'm sure Edie was happy to have her back. The house had to get a little bigger, but Edie was used to that.
아, 이게 그래서 증축을 한 거구나.
And for a while, things were good. Almost normal, but it didn't last. The beginning of the end was Milton's 10th birthday, when Edie gave him a castle.
밀턴 오빠 얘기죠. 실종된 오빠.
Milton Finch in The Magic Paintbrush.
이걸 10살짜리 꼬마애가 그렸다고?
I was 4 when Milton disappeared. Mom spent months searching for my brother. Then she sealed the doors. Whatever Milton had found in the house, Mom didn't want it getting out.
아무리 봐도 근데 애가 이런 곳에서 자는 건 너무 위험한 것 같아.
Mom definitely blamed Edie, but I think Louis blamed himself. After he
루이스,
graduated, he just
죽은
spent more and
오빠죠.
more time in his room. Until Mom got him a job at the cannery.
네, 오빠가 2명이에요. 루이스랑
이클림 게임 재밌게 즐기고 계신가요? 할로윈 특집 치곤 안 무서운데 그렇다고 나쁘진 않네요. 크크.
아, 할로윈 특집 게임은 이미 했습니다. 아까 전에 포피 플레이 타임이라고 공포 게임 하나 하고, 그게 워낙 좀 짧은 게임이라.
Louis's room smelled very, very familiar. That part of him lived on.
리들러.
Dear Mrs. Finch, as Lewis's psychiatrist, I can understand your desire for an explanation. As I see it, the trouble began in January, shortly after we convinced your son to seek treatment for substance abuse. Newly sober, I believe Lewis first noticed the monotony of his daily life. He kept working at the cannery, but he withdrew part of himself. In our sessions, I saw the same behavior. His mind began to wander.
뭐야?
I asked him to describe it. He said he started small, imagining a labyrinth. He'd feel his way about. Then something moved. Bats. And toads. And things that had no
안
names.
무섭다고 한순간 나오는 게 이런 장면이라니
He knew
참
it was all in his
똑같네요.
head.
크크.
But he took it very seriously. I had hoped
뭔가
he'd
좀
find himself.
뭐라 그래야 되지? 분위기상으로 오싹한 게 좀 있어요. 뭔가 좀 아까 바바라 했을 땐 좀 많이 무서웠다.
But he found something more. I worried about him then. Daydreaming at the cannery. I spoke with his boss. But he said Lewis had become a model employee. Methodical, tireless, focused. Like a whole new Lewis.
아니
So I
이건
let him go on.
디아블로.
기아보다 이거랑
I even encouraged him.
데스도어.
It seemed very promising at first. He told me he'd made a new friend.
루이스토피아.
On the edge of a city he named Louis-topia. He built the city up slowly, brick by brick. Then he made musicians. And songs for them to play. He talked about starting a band. And he was always humming something. Every day his imagination grew stronger. He no longer spoke at the cannery. But his chopping was as reliable as ever.
상상이
Then
너무
one day it struck
심해져서 대화조차 안 하게 됐다고.
At all the cheering crowds, even the stones under his feet, were all in his imagination. so he could do whatever he wished. He held an election for mayor. And he won. They begged him to stay, but his mind was already wandering. It became a game for him. He'd conquer a city, then immediately push on. New Louisville. St. Louis. He started drifting away from our reality. Minneapolis, until one day he forgot to go home from the cannery. Even as his mother pleaded with him, part of Louis kept sailing on. In Louisburg, he heard rumors of a
안돼, 멋있는 여왕 쪽으로 가야 돼.
handsome queen. The queen was on her own quest for
여왕이 찾아 나선 건 사악한 뱀.
sinister serpents. He followed the sound of her
은하프.
silver harp. His chase led him to a golden palace east of the sun and west of the moon.
달의
Even
서쪽에
then,
있는
his logic remained sound.
지금 이거 보느라 내가
He
작업하는
knew
걸
the
잊었어.
world was all in his imagination.
아, 혹시나 싶은데 이거 참고로 지금 이거
But he was so
생선
proud of
써는 거
having
제가 하는
created it.
거예요.
In his own eyes, he'd become something greater than a king. For someone who'd never known success in the real world, I think it
아,
was
둘 다 제가
overwhelming.
하는 겁니다. 둘 다 제가 하는 거예요, 지금. 앞으로 움직이는 거는 왼쪽
But
스틱으로
the real
하고
Louis was not the one chopping salmon,
연어
but the
절단하는
one
건
climbing the steps of a golden palace.
오른 스틱으로 하는 거고.
My imagination is as real as my body, he told me. It was hard to argue with him. We began to forget the world we know.
설마.
I think it pained him to remember Louis, the cannery worker.
이제 그대로 퇴근해서 집에
He
가가라고.
began to despise the man with a royal contempt. I still thought I could save him. Even after he said he was being crowned king over all the lands of wonder. The
근데 이
palace would be
정신과
back with his
의사가 잘못된
companions.
방법을 사용했네. 뭐야?
게임도 집에 가버렸네.
야, 이 여기서부터 낫이야?
I can understand your desire for an explanation. As I
이거
Even
지난번에
after he said
헬프미에서
he was being
나왔잖아.
crowned king over all the lands of wonder.
그 공감하고 이러면은 더 자신의
The
망상풍에
palace would be
빠진다고.
packed with his companions, including the wise Calico who'd insisted on inviting him. His queen waited, holding his crown.
지금 죽으러 가는 거
There's only
같은데요,
one thing
그냥?
left to do.
잘리러 가는 길이 아니라? 아, 잘린다는 게 그 잘리는 거 얘기하는 건가? 파이어가 아니라 컷 얘기하나, 컷?
And the rest I think you know. Mrs. Finch, your son was a kind man who will be missed by all of us who knew him.
My brother was really cool. I wish you could have met him.
봐봐, 너도 만날 수 있으면 좋았을 텐데. 이거 그냥 자기 아기한테 단순하게 하는 말인가? 아니면 얘도 사실은 죽어가지고 지금 일기를 남긴 거고 그걸 딸이 읽고 있는 건가?
Lewis and I spent a lot of time playing games together, but he was surprisingly bad at them. He died a lot. On the way back from Lewis's funeral, my mom told me to start packing. She waited until the day before we left to tell Edie. I'm
그러니까
not sure
지금
she
이걸
wanted to
보면서
make it
일기를
easier
이미
for
쓴
her.
걸 읽고 있는 것 같아, 얘 딸이.
I wish we'd stayed. But I understand why we left. My mom ended up leaving everything behind. What happened that night had been coming for a long time.
빨리 일어나 했던 걸지.
But it had to end one way or another. All that's left now is to tell you about that last night.
아이, 나 진짜.
That whole last day, Edie just watched us pack and didn't say a word. Until supper, when she
아, 그
raised her
또
glass and
나왔어.
said,
To our final night together, and all our final nights apart.
Grandma, you know what I said about alcohol. Some of your medications are very
Edith,
specific.
I left a present for you in the hallway. Why don't you go open it? The grown-ups have to argue now.
I'm sorry, you're right. We're all leaving tomorrow. Let's just enjoy our last...
I'm not leaving.
Edith, you're excused.
이제 엄마랑 증조 할머니랑 자기만
the
남아서
power had been shut off that morning, but Edie always had plenty of candles. When my mom said the library, I don't think she knew about the other entrance. Or that Edie had a key to it.
That thing you're afraid of isn't going to end when you leave the house. Edith has a right to know these stories.
My children are dead because of your stories. I think it's best if Edith and I leave tonight. We'll have the nursing home send a van for you in the morning. Okay?
핀치가의 역사. 에디 핀치.
Dear Edith, there's so many stories I wish I could tell you, but there's only time for one. This is about what happened on the night you were born. That night, the tide went way, way out. It was the first and last time I ever saw the old house aground. There'd been an earthquake out in the middle of the ocean. They called it the lowest tide in 1,000 years. God, it smelled awful. You know, I've seen that house every day of my life. But I never thought I'd go back to it.
공포랑은 조금 다르구나. 그냥 아무튼 심장이 좀 턱 막히는 그런 답답함.
I got turned around. For a while, I wandered. I started seeing things.
쌤이
Things I'd
저것 때문에
forgotten
죽었지.
had ever existed. But when I saw them, they felt like old friends. That night, a lot of things came back to me. Or maybe I came back to them. Things I can't explain, but that I need you to try and...
Edith, what are you doing in here?
It's mine.
Edith!
Mom, you're gonna rip it. Let go. I kicked and screamed, but Mom dragged me to the car. I never saw Great Grandma Edie again. The next morning, the van came to pick her up, but she was already gone. After that, we moved around a lot. We both tried to make the best of it. A few years went by.
아, 이게 다 글자구나.
My mom didn't like to talk about it. But she started getting sick a lot. The rest happened pretty quickly. She got better for a while, and then she didn't. And then I was alone. The last Finch left alive. Until I found out about you. I'm still not sure what to tell you about all this. If we lived forever, maybe we'd have time to understand things. But as it is, I think the best we can do is try to open our eyes. And appreciate how strange and brief all of this is. This journal was supposed to be for you.
맞네.
But now I hope you'll never see it. I just want to meet you. And tell you all these stories myself.
죽었네.
But I guess if you're reading this now, things didn't work out that way.
그래서
This
에디스
is where your
핀치의
story
유산이구나.
I'm sorry I won't be there to see it. It's a lot to ask, but I don't want you to be sad that I'm gone. I want you to be amazed that any of us ever had a chance to be here at all. Good luck.